Hello, my name is Anna. I'm a learning skills advisor at CFC Mount Isa, and let's talk about motivation. Have you ever felt this way? If you have, let's unpack this a little bit more. Locus of control is something that we would like you to remember. You can be in charge of your life just by the way you really think about your life and yourself. For example, we can't really say that you can have a full on control of your life, but you also can't say that all of the external things and events have full control of your life, because technically it's a bit of a balancing act. You have control over your thoughts, you have control over your actions, but obviously there might be no control over some technical issues that happen in your life or some events that might happen that are influenced by others. Nonetheless, I think it's very important for you to still remember that your actions, your thoughts, your decisions are yours. And you've got to take that charge of your life, because then it is a bit confronting, but also it's very helpful to realize that you are in charge of changing some things in your life that you might not like. For example, feeling the grief every time you study because you are behind the schedule or you haven't been as organized as you wanted to be, and so on and so forth, because at the end of the day, you have full charge of your time and how you plan it. It's just a matter of how to do it. And hopefully by the end of this video, you will find a few useful tips and tricks that you can implement in your life starting today. Just like control, your motivation can also be internal, intrinsic, or external, extrinsic. And today I would love to focus on the internal motivation, that we can plant the seeds and then harvest it in the form of feeling really good about your study day, and really focus on things you can do in your life that will feel like a driving force that is leading you towards your dreams. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that what we want? To develop a deeper sense of this intrinsic motivation, it has been discovered through some studies that autonomy, competence, and relatedness are some of the core skills, core concepts to understand, develop, and hone throughout your study journey or throughout your life. And they can really help you feel that drive that's going and taking you where you want to be. So with autonomy, I think it's quite obvious. You are at the driver's seat and you choose your pace, your methods, and your priorities. And that means your study methods, your pace of doing study blocks in certain ways, as well as your priorities in terms of what you are ready to put on pause in your life and actually get some things done while you're studying. Competence. As we live, as we learn, as we grow, we are definitely developing in different areas of our lives. And competence is earned, and it's something to be observed and reflected, because if you look back, you have actually been learning this entire time. Little things that you pick up from friends, from teachers, from tutors, from your boss, from colleagues. You learn that and you put that in your toolbox. But if you don't reflect on it, you may as well have not learned it, because it doesn't register in your mind, and that does not register as built competence, and as a result you may still think not as well about yourself. So I do invite you to introduce some consistency into your life. Speak to yourself positively. Again, at least think about one thing that you've learned in the past 7 days. I'm sure you would have learned at least something. That ability to retain information is fantastic. You've got to praise yourself for that. If you are moving somewhere in your life, might as well be your own cheerleader. Celebrate and reflect on your wins, which is really also just is a good way to reflect on how much you have grown, and for you internally register that you are becoming more competent, because that will grow your motivation to keep going, to keep showing up, doing the hard things. Start with small steps. Everyone knows it, but does everyone do it? I hope you do it. I hope you practice it. If you finding some assessments extremely challenging because you're stepping out of comfort zone, do the small things. Write one sentence, write one paragraph there, do a bit of a research, read one paper, do something. Those small steps will mean something down the line for you. And refine your methods. Competence grows. You reflect on what works, what doesn't work, and you can refine and get better. Relatedness is also important. CUC is one of the spaces where you can feel like you are not the only one who's struggling through the semester, who is having a day, having too many deadlines happening. Talk to us, staff, talk to students. We've got events. Come and join us for the social bit, but also do think and find someone in life who can support you when you need to vent, when you feel frustrated, or when you need help, as well as when you want to celebrate something and tell them about your win. Study can become really daunting, especially if you feel like you have so many hours ahead of you to study each week and you feel like it's just a big cloud that is in front of you, and you really just need to bear with it, bear that storm of the just hours and hours of study without really breaking it down. And planning out your week, and first of all mapping out your week, can be really helpful because you then easily break it up into study blocks, the amount of study that you have in front of you, as well as you just get to understand your week visually a little bit more. In front of you is a week that has little blocks of time. You can color in, assign a color to them, and just color the times that you are doing that activity. And I want you to think about some non-negotiables like sleep. It's very important. You will not be the person who you are without good sleep. So please count for sleep, account for any commitments you have, your work, your study, family commitments, and obviously look at where you've got the most time, where you would potentially have the most energy to study, and if you don't, what are you going to schedule in that time? Is it going to be rest and a little bit of study? Really do think about this and trial maybe different time blocks that can work with your mapped out week. This visual can be a really good baseline for you to start planning your study based on your energy levels throughout the week, as well as your availability. Some people like to study before they start full-time work because they want to dedicate all of that brain power to their study. If you feel like you will be super exhausted after some work that you do, don't plan your study right after that. So hopefully this visual will be really useful. You can find it on our website and download. You can also follow the link at the bottom of this video. If you already know what your week is looking like and you just have some dedicated time every week or every day where you study, I encourage you to think and plan your study blocks as well, because your brain is your best friend and you might as well keep your best friend happy. Brain likes to switch tasks reasonably often, so it stays engaged. It also likes receiving little hits of dopamine, and that's why scrolling is really popular. But we'll talk about that later. So when you plan your study block, really do think about what you're going to be doing and assign that task. For example, I will be doing quiz 5, like in this example. I need you to be as specific as possible because that will keep you on task. Then spend the 25 to 45 minutes of that focused time dedicated to that task only. For example, only reading, or for example, only researching. So why I want you to just do that? Because your brain will be able to get into the ultimate focus mode if you fully just do one thing. After that block, Even if it's a shorter one, 5-20 minutes, take a break. If you feel like that's it, the task is done, for example, or that's it, I'm done, my brain needs a break. Before you take that break, I want you to quickly write down what you have done. I have researched papers on this topic, or I have read this paragraph about this and this. This will help you retain a little bit of that information as well as close that loop for your brain. I have finished the study block. Then you rest. Take a meaningful break. I really suggest just resetting your brain. Hopefully you can actually get up and move a little bit, because your whole body, your whole brain, they need a bit of that rest. And I know sometimes we are in the zone, we want to stay sitting for 6 hours straight because you just feel in the zone. But your body will be grateful if you get up, if you walk a loop around the building, or if you go and make yourself a tea or coffee. Just really move around, and the blood is flowing, your brain needs that as well. Once you're ready to come back to your next study block after 5 to 10 minutes, if you are doing multiple study blocks, I want you to switch the task. Now your brain is ready to do something else. It will stay as engaged because it's doing something new. And again, stay on one task only. Write it down and listen to something, or start collating all of your research papers, or start writing. So basically switch from a different task. If you've been doing researching, I don't want you to go and do reading, because you have been reading a lot during the researching. So you gotta change it up a bit, but obviously whatever flows for you. Try it out. Let me know if that works for you, because I feel like that's really golden rule to stay engaged, to stay really engaged on your task for your brain and achieve some really great results with your studies. If you are a busy person and you have looked at your mapped out week and you think, oh my gosh, I feel like I have so many pockets of time where I think I will be really tired or I will be really distracted, I encourage you to maybe implement a technique that's called if then, and that can help you to remove the decision from even existing in your periphery. You just follow the pre-planned step, a pre-planned set of actions. For example, if I come home from work and I am tired, then I will take a break for 10 minutes and I will study for 40 minutes. You already know that there are days when you come home tired, so you probably are compelled to feel sorry for yourself and take a break, which is absolutely needed. That's okay, we need to be resting. But that break can take longer than you might need, or take longer and cut into your study time. So if you pre-plan things like this can help you stay on track of your goals. Another example, if I finish work early, then I go to CUC and study till my actual work finishes, and then I go home. So it basically, if events happen, you already have a plan for that. If your social gathering is cancelled, then I go and study in that place. Something like that. So you are not tempted to fill out your day with some unnecessary things that are taking the space of your study. Been there, guilty of that. And I feel like once I started introducing pre-planned sort of actions into my life, it has been really helpful to stay on track with my study. Our brain loves dopamine. Everyone loves dopamine, and it needs dopamine. It needs dopamine to keep going, to feel like it, to feel that happiness, the kick in life. And that's fantastic. We want to give your brain dopamine. Unfortunately, the fastest dopamine that you can access is at your fingertips. It's on your phone. You scroll the social media and it gives you that kick. Unfortunately, it does also exhaust your brain and doesn't really help, because you are seated in a position where your body is still not moving. So even though you are getting little bits of dopamine, you are exhausting yourself and you're wearing yourself out. So what about trying and creating a dopamine menu for yourself? And that will be a fully customized menu, because you are in charge of your life. You are in charge of creating things for yourself. So Dopamine Menu is a little menu when you come to a restaurant, and you can pick from a small bite size to a big lunch, dessert, something that is gonna fit your need at that time. So you can pre-plan 5-minute dopamine hit activities or ideas for you that will not include scrolling and will recharge you, and you will get a dopamine from a good stretch. Trust me, you will love listening to a song that you haven't heard in a while, or you just feel really, really energized by during your break between study blocks. Take a loop around, walk in your favorite spot in the garden, pet your dog or cat. That is a meaningful dopamine giving break for you. So have a think about different things, like what have I not done recently that I would love to keep doing, or what's one hobby, a few hobbies that I feel like I don't have space in my life for. And if you can fit that into those 15-30 minute breaks where you know you need dopamine, you will be surprised how many things you actually can fit in your life when you remove scrolling from your life and still get the results. And look, scrolling can also be obviously on the list, especially if you feel like it's quick, it's accessible, we all know it, and we also learn amazing information sometimes from scrolling. So I like, no judgment here, but I do also invite you to think about other things that can help. Maybe do some research if you don't really know much. But yeah, I hope you also use the handout I've prepared to ask yourself some questions that can guide you on creating the dopamine menu, and create it somewhere where you will access it. If you love writing and drawing, I really encourage you to make that into an art project for yourself, something that would be really pleasant for you to look at. If you use things like online apps for note taking, and you look at those apps and you come back to them often, keep it there, put it on your screensaver on the phone. Just keep it somewhere where it is accessible and you will be using it. And remember to come back to the if then planning. If I finish my study block, then I grab my dopamine menu and look at a 5-minute section and do one thing from that menu before I take my phone. How exciting! You will have some different things to do and hopefully feel happier overall. Biggest thing about feeling like you are in charge of your life is choosing different study methods. Today I will not be diving into study methods because it's a really big topic, but I would like to leave this slide here for you to have a look at different study methods that I've handpicked here. But there are so many more. I would like you to just understand that there are so many more study methods that will suit different need, different purpose. Look at these ones and maybe give them a try. It is, I think, important to get used to different study methods. So if you've tried it once and it didn't work, give it a go a few more times before you really dismiss it, because again, you are just getting adjusted, getting used to something, and you might discover that it's going to change your study life overall. Looking at this slide, after I finished my first degree almost a decade ago, I cannot believe I didn't know about study methods and ways to plan my life beyond bare minimum calendar planning, because I probably would have been engaged with what I studied a bit more. And if you feel like you want to actually retain some information, obviously everyone wants to retain information for their degree, look into different study methods and give them a go. And if you would like to see a session on study methods, also let me know, because we cater to your needs. Thank you for sitting through this video. I'm sure you had other things to do, but I am glad that you've invested this time into yourself. And I hope you use some of the handouts on our website or come to the center and grab them already printed. UC Mount Isa is located in the heart of Mount Isa in the northwest Queensland region. We are a relatively new study hub, and we would love to see any student coming through the door, supporting them and providing all of the needed facilities to study, to do exams, to rest if needed, and get any support from staff like myself, Learning Skills Advisor. We've got a very friendly team here, so come say hi.